Hi class, this is course 3, lesson 67, percent of change. We're going to use a table and solve a proportion. So your ratio table, or your table, because it's not a ratio anymore, it's a percent and an actual table, and you're going to have the original, a change, which is going to be a plus or a minus change, and then a new. Now, the percent column will always start with 100. And then we will either add an increase or subtract a decrease to get a new percent, and we'll fill in the actual information as we get it. So we have two examples to go through today. Here's one. Donna bought a dress at a 30% off sale for $42. What was the original price of the dress? Okay, so I'm going to start here. What was the original price of the dress? Since I need to solve for the original price of the dress, I know the original actual box is going to have my variable. I need to fill in the information about the sale. It's a 30% off sale. So that's going to be a discount minus 30%. And I'm going to actually perform that calculation right here, giving me a new percent of 70, because 100 minus 30 is 70%. Okay, she bought a dress at a 30% off sale for $42. So that's how much she paid after the discount. So that's her actual price paid. Okay, now I don't need this middle column or middle row anymore. I needed it to find what percent went with the new price. So now I have a proportion. 100 over 70 equals x over 42. Now, a lot of different ways you can solve proportions. In this case, I can see that if I reduce this fraction here, I now have 10 over 7 equals x over 42, and I can multiply this by 6 and multiply that by 6. So I'm going to get my original price of the sweater, or the dress, is $60. Now, you have to ask yourself if this makes sense. Okay? If I go to the store and I'm going to buy a $60 item, but it's 30% off, 30% off is close to a third, right? So my discount would be a third. So what is 1/3 of $60? It's $20. So if I subtract $20 from 60, I get 40, which is very close to $42. So you need to do that mental check, or actually calculate it out. You could take $60 times 0.3 and see if you get that discount, so that when you subtract you get $42. One other example for you. The median price of a house in a neighborhood rose 20% in 1 year to $288,000. By how many dollars did the median price increase? Okay, so the median price of a house in a neighborhood rose 20%. So that means that we are going to have a plus 20% in the change column. Now I need to add 100 plus the 20 to get a new percent of 120%. Okay, so let's fill in the actual. This would be dollars now. The median price of a house in a neighborhood rose in 1 year to be $288,000. So that is the number that goes in your new information. They didn't tell you what it started out as. They told you what it ended up being. So now the question is, how many dollars did the median price increase? So is that a question of what was the original amount, or is that what percent did it change? That's the increase. They only want the increase, so I'm going to put my variable there. They don't want to know what the original amount was. They want to know what amount of change we had. So there's my proportion. 20 over 120 has to equal x over 288,000. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply 20 times 288, and then I will divide that by 20. Okay, all at 120, sorry. That's finding the cross product and then dividing. Okay, so what is, see, we can do some of this, some of the simplification already. We can divide by 10 and cross out 1 0. Don't cross it out over here too. You only divide it once. Okay, and I can divide this by 2 and get 6 and 1. So in essence, I divided both by 20 and got 1/6. So now let's divide 6 into 288,000 and see what we end up with. 6 will go into 28 4 times. 24, 48, 8, and then a whole bunch of zeros. So the increase is $48,000. Okay, you can ask yourself if that makes sense. You can subtract that from the 288,000 to find the original cost, and you should see that it actually went up, which would be an increase. So there's a lot of things you can do to check to make sure that your answer makes sense. Okay, so a couple different ways that I showed you how to do percent of change problems. One, just make sure that when you start with your percent, it always starts with 100%, and then you either add or subtract the amount of change. And then make sure that you're filling in your variables where they belong based on what the question is. And then write your proportion, use cross products, and solve. Okay? So that is lesson 67, percent of change. Let me know if you have questions. I'll see you in class.